Hey guys, what's going on? It's John over at FLO. Today we're checking out part 7 of the gravel wheel design journey, and we wanted to talk about collecting data and why we wanted to collect so much data. So back in 2016, when we were finishing our last road line, we realized the importance of rolling resistance. So we were in the wind tunnel and we were looking at a number of different tire sizes, tire shapes. We did a huge tire study. And at the same time, doing that tire study, we also did a rolling resistance test with Tom Anhalt at Blather About Bikes. And so when we looked at the combination of aerodynamics and rolling resistance, what we noticed was that a 25 millimeter, let's say Continental GP 4000 S2 at the time, when you combine the rolling resistance wattage with that, it was actually faster than a more aerodynamic 23 millimeter tire. So when I figured that out, I was like, man, we've been looking at the half of the equation the whole time, and what does rolling resistance mean, and how important is that into a wheel design? Right around the same time, Josh Portner, a friend of ours over at Silka, and actually Tom again, had been doing some work on something they coined the term impedance. And impedance basically means that when we're on road, when we're riding a bike, there's an impact that rolling resistance has as you increase pressure. So we'll talk more about impedance and we'll have more blog articles about that in the future, but a quick version is this. If you're looking at rolling resistance on a tire and you're using it on steel rollers, so it's infinitely smooth, the higher your tire pressure, the lower your rolling resistance. However, on the road, that's not the case. We get to a point where the rolling resistance drops as your tire pressure increases, but the road itself is not perfectly smooth. So if you look down very close to pavement, which we've done, there's a bunch of little bumps. And so at some point, the pressure in the tire is so high that instead of smoothing and deforming over the bumps, the tire starts to go up and down over those bumps. And at that point, your energy is moving up and down as opposed to forward, and your rolling resistance increases very quickly and it increases greatly. What Josh and Tom had coined at that term was they called that impedance. And in that pressure, which is on the bottom axis, and rolling resistance graph, you see a decreasing rolling resistance. Actually, I could do this backwards. Decreasing rolling resistance. And then there's a break point, which is called the impedance break point, and then all of a sudden your rolling resistance shoots up very high. So when we were looking at designing wheels, we wanted to do a few things. Number one, we needed a way to accurately measure on-road impedance and break points and certain things like that, because on rollers it wasn't going to give us enough information. So we really want to look at three things when designing rims. So one, could we measure on-road rolling resistance accurately and effectively? Number two, could we determine different break points with different tire sizes, with different rider weights, with different rim widths, a whole number of different things? And then number three, could we combine or create a rim that, if we combine aerodynamics and rolling resistance, could we create something that was faster and took both into consideration? And the quick answer to that is yes. But the journey with how we got there was very difficult. So we thought collecting data on road would be relatively simple. We've been collecting on-road data since 2015, and we built this big computer that mounted on the front of a bike. It's now jokingly termed the blender because it had a big anemometer on it. But basically, that data that we were collecting there was not detailed enough. It didn't have enough information. So we needed to find another technology, and that, like I said, has literally been one of the toughest things we've done, to find something that was accurate, repeatable, and in part 8 of the gravel wheel design journey, we're going to start talking about that journey and how we got there.